Well, Hal, you have traded Mark Twain for a senator.
Yes, that's about it.
You won't
It's
be.
not such a, it's not, oddly enough, it's not such a departure as one might think, even though he loved to make good humorous copy out of the congressman. Congress made some pretty acid remarks about Congress, you know. But the thing I like about it is that playing a senator, you're still dealing with things that are going on. You're still dealing with humanity, with what people do, with problems that are happening in the day, the same way that I deal with them when I do Mark Twain.
Is there any humor involved in this series?
Well, you know, humor, it's not a humorous show per se. We don't set out to be funny. We set out to be uh, human as we can and to deal with some of the things that are happening today and which are confusing people a great deal. And along the way, because hopefully we'll create real people, there will be humor, just as there's humor in real people. Generally speaking, it's a serious program, no question about it.
What kind of a senator is this fellow? Has there been any other senator like him, do you think?
Well, yeah, I hope so. I mean, the senator is me, you know. I'll be playing myself just as I am now, as if I were a senator in the Senate. And there are a lot of men coming into the Senate in the past 10 years who I think are, I think maybe I hope anyway that I might possibly represent. The senator that we hope to, that we're creating in this show, is a man who stands somewhere in this wide middle ground between the two polarities in America. A man who thinks in a progressive and very active fashion about trying to solve or help the situations we've gotten ourselves into. But a man whose mind is not made up before he finds a problem, who tries to see both or all sides of the problem, and then make up his mind what he thinks is right. The show will have a point of view, but we feel we have a considerable responsibility, if we take a point of view, to make sure that there's at least one very believable spokesman for what would then be the other side of our point of view. What we'd like to do, discussing the National Guard killing students, which is one of our shows, or the poverty program, or hunger. What we'd like to do is to not only entertain people by the drama of it, but to make people try to get a little better understanding of the other person's point of view, the other person's side. Just to know that someone else is human and that they have their own beliefs too. I find that dramatic in itself, because most of us just go around listening to our own voice, not listening to the other person very much, and that's why we're getting polarized.
We may be getting that too.
Maybe getting that too.
Listen, is this senator a Democrat or a Republican?
We can't identify the party, obviously. I mean, if he were in one section of the country, he might be a Democrat. If he were in another section of the country, he might be a Republican. Don't you think that's a pretty good senatorial answer?
Oh, yes, I
Isn't
think
that
that's
a dodge for you?
just as evasive as a lot of politicians
You
are.
the difference between the parties, we obviously can't identify. If I was a Republican, Democrats not on their side, or vice versa.
Or watch the other network.
Right. The thing is, you know, there's really very little difference anymore between a Republican and a Democrat, depending on where they come from, of course. I mean, you have some, for example, very liberal rather than conservative Republicans in some sections of the country, and you have some very conservative Democrats rather than liberal Democrats, which is a tradition from other sections of the country, or sometimes within the same state. I can think of one state in the center of the country that has a more conservative man and a more liberal man, both, I believe, from the same party. So those categories don't work so much anymore. I think what, from my observation, what's happening more and more, especially with the newer and younger senators, is that they are independent and they are very tuned into what's going on because they have to be. It's what's going on is pretty darn important. And that, I mean, I hope the senator I'm playing will try whenever he can to think not only in terms of his constituents, but his conscience. I find that interesting. I think most really unusual senators often vote and decide not only in terms of their constituencies, but in terms of their own consciences as men. Sometimes I did it, I made 3 trips to Washington to research this part, and I followed 3 senators around and had some meetings with some other ones. And it's very interesting, the choice that a man has to make when he makes a vote. It's easy to vote as, quote, the representative of the people, unquote. That's the easy way. That's the best way to stay in. But it's not always the desirable way, because sometimes a senator, being in the position he's in, can see what's really best for his people or his state or his country, even though all of his constituents can't see it yet. And sometimes he has to go out on the end of a diving board and take a solo leap there and hope that before the next election, people will understand that what he did was good for them. That's one of the things that creates drama, for example, you know, in a senator's life, one of the many things. I followed Birch Bayh of Indiana around. I followed Senator Muskie around for a day, and I followed Senator Mathias of Maryland around from 8:30 in the morning at breakfast with a labor lobbyist, who incidentally was not at all what I would imagine a labor lobbyist to be like. Completely against the cliche, you know, some big guy with a cigar who was pushing his thing. He wasn't that way at all. He was an adorable man, adorable, simple human being, really concerned with the kids and what was going on. Really concerned man, lovely man. And the senator was really interested in his opinions. And I followed him around and Senator Mathias from 8:30 until late in the afternoon, when I left him behind a pile of papers on his desk. We had a marvelous day. And I got the feeling of the energy and the arc and the flow and motion of a senator's day and the spontaneity of it. You never know what's gonna happen next.
Well, Hal, we're going to be looking forward to this new series, and we wish you the very best of luck. To
Thank
Senator
you.
Stowe.
Senator Stowe, thank you.